Hello, and welcome to the Nonfiction Authors Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Nonfiction Authors Association.com. It's a supportive community where writers connect, exchange ideas, and learn how to write, market, publish, promote, and profit with your nonfiction books. Matt McWilliams is living proof that one can pursue one's passion in life and do so while making a profit as well. He started his first online business in 2001 at the age of 22, and today he's one of the leading online business teachers. In the 19 years between his first venture and living out his passion and purpose, he's worked with more than 300,000 online business owners while running affiliate programs, product launches, and ebook launches for entrepreneurs. He also works with small business owners, solopreneurs, and wantrepreneurs on how to start the right online business, scale it, and eventually go full-time with it. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm so happy to have Matt McWilliams with us today. I have been on Matt's mailing list forever. He always offers excellent value, and unlike other lists, I've never been tempted to unsubscribe, Matt. So maybe we'll talk about that a little today.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. As we discuss your specialty, turning passion into profits with your author business. So welcome.
Yeah. That's kind of like one of the coolest endorsements ever, Carla. You've been on my list for a long time and don't unsubscribe. That's cool. Thank you.
But first, you're a new author, so I want to congratulate you on the launch of Turn Your Passions into Profits, the proven path for building a rewarding online business. Yay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's been a really exciting process. We've helped so many others launch their books, launched a ton of bestsellers and done, like, I've been on that side of things. And I told people, I know what I know, and I know it as well as anybody, if not better, but I don't know what I don't know, And so this whole journey, as I know many of your listeners, anybody who's published a book knows there's so much you don't know going into it. And I keep learning new things every day. Like, oh my gosh, we got to do Amazon ads, and, we got to do this. And, oh shoot, I totally forgot about, like, we have all these people committed to bulk orders and we didn't have a mechanism in place. Like, I was so naive. I thought they were going to go to Amazon and order them one at a time, 300 times. No, you actually have to work through a company, and I'm not endorsing any particular company. We can all, we all know who they are. Like, we got to go work through that company. So I'm like emailing my publisher frantically, like, hey, I've got this guy who wants to buy 300 books. How does he do it? And so it's been so funny, like, this whole process, like all the stuff that just happened on the other side that just happened. And as far as I knew, I didn't care. Now I care, so I'm turning into the worst nightmare for our team, because I'm like the client who's freaking out about everything. And I'm, all over the place, and I'm micromanaging when I never do. And they're cool. They're super chill about it, but it's actually kind of funny.
I can imagine. Yes, there is a lot that you don't know until you go through the process yourself. And, getting the printer for bulk sales and doing the POD thing and having a publisher or selling direct it's all a mystery until you go through the process. And I know, both kinds of authors, the nonfiction authors who are creating a business with their books, mm-hmm. and the business people like you who are writing books to, convey what you know and boost your authority. They're going to get a lot of value from this. And first is time management. You've done this for other people, and now you're doing it for yourself. Author entrepreneurs, we run out of time. How do you prioritize time and still, create those newsletters and those posts that people never unsubscribe from?
Yeah.
What's your magic?
Well, full disclosure, I was diagnosed at a very early age with ADD. I had childhood epilepsy. My neuro psychologist said, many years ago, Matt, your synapses fire 7 times faster than the average human beings. And so what that means is I have 7 times more input. Like, whoever's listening to this, I have 7 times more input happening at any moment. Yes, it's scary to be in my head. And so focus and productivity are very challenging for me. Now, that's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. And so to give you some perspective, writing the book, I've been talking about this for 8 years. 8 years. Like, why did I not write it sooner? I was in that 88% of the people, 87% of the people who say they want to write a book and never do. 88% say they want to write a book and less than 1% do. Well, I was there, and I kept being there, and I kept being there. I kept being there. And I'm not diminishing the negative impacts of the pandemic, but we will all admit that, all of us who made it through, most of us experienced some positive. I went hiking more than I've ever went in my life. That was amazing. Why? Because I couldn't go to stores. I couldn't go to the movies. So we went hiking. I had no interest in hiking. Now I love hiking. I think hiking's amazing. I would have never discovered that. But one of the things that I did toward the end of it, we had a little bit of a slow period as I started writing the book. I finally had the time. I had a few weeks and I started writing it. Well, here's the thing. I only got about a third of the way through. And then I hit the busiest season I've ever had professionally in my life. Our company was blowing up in a good way. We were scaling rapidly. We had 3 new hires. We actually 4 new hires in like a couple of months period. We had a big product launch with one of our clients, well in excess of $7 million. And I was still heavily involved in that side of the business. And I went to our ops manager, our operations manager, Robbie Miles, who's also a productivity guru. And I said, okay, Robbie, here's the deal. I've got a lot of momentum with this book, but I'm only a third of the way through. How do I do that? I can't pause it for 4 months and come back. I know what'll happen. I'll sit there with a 1/3 completed manuscript for the next 8 years. And I'm never going to get this book out, and it's going to eat at me, and it's probably going to kill me. I'm going to be dead at 50 just because I never got this book out. And that's not, you think, wow, that's a little bit, extreme there. No, I think it could, because it was eating me up inside. And he said, well, can you write for 20 minutes a day? I said, yeah, man, I can find 20 minutes. I can 20 minutes. We're not talking about getting up 3 hours earlier. Yeah, get up at 5 a.m. Sure. If that's your thing, get up at 5 a.m. It's not for me. I'm a 7:15 person, but could I get up at 6:55? And he was like, well, how long would that take? I was like, well, in an hour and a half, I'm writing, close to 2,000 words. So, I did the math. I'm like, I can finish this thing in 3.5 months at 20 minutes a day. So here's what I did, Carla. I set my timer for 17 minutes. At the end of those 17 minutes, it went off. That meant I had 3 minutes to do the following: tie up any loose ends and type my notes for the next day. And I found that was key. When I came down the next day to write for 17 minutes, I already had my outline for the next day. I didn't start with a blank page. People talk about writer's block. Writer's block only exists if you have a completely blank page. It does not exist if you've made the notes, you wrote the outline, and your subconscious is magically working on it for the next 24 hours. I can promise you I never started with a blank page. So I finished up. If I finished up in 30 seconds, then at 17.5 minutes, I was done and I got to work on my other stuff. And so it wasn't an issue of like trying to find the time. I just made the time before I did anything else. I came downstairs every morning. The first thing I saw was the Google Doc. Nothing else was open. And that was it. And I started writing for 17 whole minutes and finished the book.
That's awesome. I love that advice. I love that. I think Hemingway did that or something, just
I don't know. I'm sure I'm not the first person.
That is great, because that not being faced with a blank page is amazing. And I guess, you have been able to put out small chunks of content like blog posts and short podcast episodes and things like that. And those are easier for you. So for some people, it's easier to write a whole book than it is to do social media, right?
I can, it's like the old saying with the guy put PS, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. Yes. There's some famous guy wrote that.
That was, that was Samuel. That was I know who that was.
Yeah.
It'll come to me. I'm pretty interested in your attention triggers. You talk about 5 attention triggers: assert authority and become known in your field. Can you go over those 5 things?
Yeah. These are something we've been teaching for, 10 years. And they're as true today as they've ever been. So number 1, so ultimately, just to back up, right? Okay. To back up, we got to stand out in the marketplace first. Once we've stood out, then the question becomes, how do we continually get attention? Not just how do we get attention one time? Like we can get attention. You can get attention with a great cover to your book. You can get attention with one good podcast episode that, is controversial. You can get attention with just one good subject line. But how do you stand out every single time? The first one is a pattern disrupt. All right. So I'll give you a good example. Most of my emails come out at about the same time every day on the same days. I very rarely send emails on Sundays. So when I suddenly send an email at 7:30 p.m. on a Sunday, it disrupts a pattern. It stands out. My audience goes, Carla, you go, huh, that's weird. Matt's sending me an email on Sunday night. It must be important. And the truth is, it may or may not be that important, but I'm just disrupting the pattern. Now, usually I do save those for something that is important. So any kind of a pattern disrupt. Are your normal emails really short? Then maybe you have one that's really long. Do they normally not have an image in them and you include an image? Something like that just disrupts the pattern. I'm focusing on email, but this can apply to anything, right? The second thing is reward, rewarding people. When I do webinars, for examples, I like to say thank you to the people who were early, and I reward them with just a little bit of bonus content at the very beginning. It's only 5 to 15% of the people, but it catches their attention. When we look at the buyers at the end, 15% of the people showed up more than 1 minute before, 50% to 60% of the buyers did.
Wow.
And I don't know if that's because they were so eager going into it that they showed up early. There could be, it's not a causation, but there's a correlation, and I don't have a way of split testing that. But my hypothesis is it's a combination of that, plus the fact that they felt before I even said, hey guys, welcome, they already felt like there was, they'd already gotten something out of it. The third thing is prestige. There's a study I talk about in the book from Robert Cialdini, where he talks about this ad that ran back in the 90s, and it ran for like 10 years. So any ad that runs for 10 years, is amazing, because the run life of most ads is measured in weeks. The bad ones only last a couple of weeks and they go away. This ad ran for like 10 years, and it was an actor wearing a doctor's coat. And he says at the beginning, I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV. And yet the trust factor, that prestige, the ad worked for almost a decade because they still associated what he was talking about, some sort of medical thing, with the fact that he was wearing a doctor's coat. When I talk about my clients, I talk about the fact that we've run big launches for Michael Hyatt and Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, Jeff Walker. We've worked with all these people, Lewis Howes, Brian Tracy, the list goes on and on. Prestige. That's why I say that. The fourth one is uncertainty. If you've ever seen the famous to be continued ... at the end of an episode, how uncertainty is a trigger for attention, because what happens, especially back in the day when it happened live on Thursdays at 7:30, right? What did you do at 8:01 when that episode was over? You called your friend who also, was watching the same show, and you said, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that they did that. Is he really going to end up doing that? Are they going to do this? Are they that uncertainty, that open loop was an attention grabber, and it kept us engaged for months until the next episode came out, if it was that long. And then lastly is recognition. One of the things, a good example of that is just calling people out by name. I recognize listeners on the podcast, on the webinars. I call people out by name. I can see a list of their names and I'll just mention them. And, Dale Carnegie said, there's nothing sweeter than the sound of your own name. And so find ways to recognize people because it stands out and it catches that attention. So those are those triggers. If you can use even one of those in your ad copy, in your, in your emails, in your podcast, it only takes one. If you try to use all 5, it gets kind of weird. But if you can use 1, sometimes 2, possibly 3, then you're going to stand out.
I love it. Okay. So number 3 was prestige. And when you were talking about that, I was thinking authority, like even if the doctor,
another way of saying it. Yeah.
Posing authority. So a lot of authors are really thought leaders, or they could be, but they're hesitant to assert their authority and their thought leadership. I mean, how can you guide authors to assert themselves and become that thought leader?
Every time I talk about, when I say things like, we've worked with Brian Tracy and Michael Hyatt and Tony, it feels weird. And I'll be honest, it never gets better. I am never going to just say those things and not kind of be like, holy crap. I am never going to say those things and not think somebody's listening to me right now going, what a pretentious jerk. Oh, look at him. He's he just thinks so much of himself. I'm going to be honest. I am never going to feel that way. 20 years from now, I'm still going to feel like I shouldn't be saying those names.
So you're just powering through it, just like scripting it and going, okay, do it, Matt, do it.
That's it. I mean, internally, yeah. I mean, I'm proud of what we've accomplished. I'm proud of what I've been able to do. I was sharing with somebody yesterday. I did an interview yesterday, and he was like, what lessons have you learned from those people? And I said, like for me, one of the biggest lessons I learned, the weirdest thing, was sitting there with Kevin Harrington, he from Shark Tank, right? He was a client of ours for a while, and I got to sit at his table while he analyzed the scripts that we had written for him to do some of the marketing. This is the guy that invented the infomercial. So if hey, Billy Mays here, the George Foreman grill, the Tony Little Gazelle trainer, this guy has sold billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of products on TV. So he knows a script when he sees one, and he knows how to analyze every single word. Sitting there with him was amazing. Like, it was absolutely mind blowing. And I learned so much. So for me to be able to talk about the fact that we've worked with these people and we've coached their teams and we've run their launches and we've, helped them sell 25,000 books or 100,000 books. Like, I pinch myself. And so, yeah, but I'm never going to be comfortable with it, Carla. It's never like something where I'm like, I'm never going to not feel awkward. I'm never going to not feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Like self-conscious.
Self-confident.
Oh. Yeah. I'm never going to not feel self-conscious about it, but yeah, I power through it, and I do it because, I know that there's, like, I have to establish that with people, and my mission is more important than, my feelings. So even though it feels uncomfortable, I know that the mission, when I say those things, it opens people's minds to go, okay, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about. Maybe we should listen a little bit.
I see. So your mission is important to you. And I think a lot of most authors have a mission. They've got that book. They just have to write. They have to get that message out, whether it's an internal message or a profitable message about how to grow your business but you got that first client, you got that first book review. How do you approach a first authority figure, right? And start that train of working with people who are higher level?
I think it'd be easy for me to say, here's how I did it, and this will work for everyone. I don't know if this is going to work for everyone. I can tell you that I've done it and taught it to a lot of people, and it's worked for almost everybody that we've taught it to. If you actually do it right. So first, if you look at the very first big client I got for a book launch, for example, a guy named Jeff Goins. And Jeff his previous book had sold about 3,000 copies. He had a new book coming out called The Art of Work. Now, I'm listening. I'm going to fast forward. I'm listening to a book now, or just finished listening to a book called Great by Choice by Jim Collins. And he talks about the role that luck plays in business success. And he compared companies that did really well and companies that did not do well, that were at similar sizes, 20 years before. And they found that luck, all of them experience luck, good luck, bad luck, all kinds of luck in equal proportions. It's how you react to luck. So here's the thing. I just happened to see one day that Jeff had tweeted out and said, I'm looking for stories of people who found their career, the job they love, and I'd like to interview for my book. Well, as you know about Twitter, there's about 100 tweets per minute in my feed, probably. So the odds of me seeing any individual tweets are roughly 2%. Let's go high and say 5%. So there's a 95% chance I would never have seen that tweet. Was it lucky that I saw the tweet? A little bit, but I could have seen it and went, cool tweet, and moved on. No, but I took action. So I reached out to Jeff and I said, I'd love to be interviewed for your book. And he interviewed me. And from that interview, he knew that I ran affiliate programs for some big companies that I was working with at the time, but I wasn't working in the entrepreneurial space, the space that I really wanted to work in. I was doing more like corporate stuff, working with like Adidas and Shutterfly. And I didn't even mention to him that I wanted to get into working more with people like him and Michael Hyatt. And my wife had asked me, who are your dream clients? And I listed 5 people, and I told her, I'm never going to work with any of those people. Like, that's not my thing. Years later, I've worked with 4 of them. There's only one missing. And I actually, believe it or not, have a connection to him now because I just found out that his grandfather's last name was McWilliams, and that the guy who runs his marketing is one of my dear friends. So we'll see if that,
every angle.
Yeah,
right?
We'll see if that turns into anything. Like, he's been a dream client. I never knew any of those things. But so then Jeff reached out to me and said, hey, I'm launching this book. Can you help me? And I said, absolutely. Sign me up. And we signed him up, and we worked with him. And I'll never forget, he came to me and said, man, I got to tell the publisher how many books I'm going to sell. Last book sold 3,000. What should I tell them? And I said, 15,000. And Jeff said, I can't tell them 15,000. Did you hear me? My last book sold 3,000 books. Like, I can tell them 10, maybe. And I said, Jeff, either tell them 15,000 or I'm not working with you. He's like, well, fine. I'll tell them 15,000. We did 22,000 pre-orders.
Excellent. Wow.
But it started, here's the thing. with being available. And then secondly, that email that he sent to me saying, could we talk about running my book launch? This is the thing. We both promoted Michael Hyatt before Michael was a client. We both promoted Michael. Jeff finished one spot ahead of me on the affiliate leaderboard. I sent an email to him and said, great job. Congratulations. You know, it was awesome competing with you, blah, blah, blah. I really didn't know him that much other than he'd interviewed me for his book. It was that email that he responded to. So that compliment and that interaction on Twitter and the comments on his blog and all the things I'd done for 3 years before were ultimately what led to him working with me. When we worked with him and had success with his book, that opened up the floodgates because he told 50 people and they all wanted to work with us. Right. And then the rest is history. And
there's several things about this that I would like to model for nonfiction authors, because you've got a landing page. You've got sort of I don't know if you have an affiliate thing on here, but you have some bonuses and all of that. Can you model this for our authors?
Yeah. I mean, again, you guys can check it out. Actually, I would just encourage people we've got a special URL for your listeners, Carla.
And you've got you do? Oh, thank you.
Okay. And so let me find that here, actually. I think
so. You've got 3 things that I'd like to talk about: the URL, the affiliate link, for us, your deadline, and your giveaways. Right.
So it'll be let's see, passionsintoprofitsbook.com/Carla. Guys, there's some extra bonuses there. So but I want to talk about the funnel specifically. So I want to pull open the page because, I'd love to say that I was the mastermind behind this page, but I wasn't. And so, I mean, if you look at the page, depending upon when you look at it, right now, when you go to the page, we've got a little bit, we're running a couple split tests right now. So you might see a slightly different version. So the version I'm looking at, the book is on the right. There's another version where the book is on the left, and you think, whoopity-doo, what difference does it make? Well, there's some different text, and we're split testing headlines and doing all that stuff because conversions matter. And I tell people all the time, Carla, I'm a good marketer. I'm not a good marketer because I'm smart or I know more than you or I've read more books or have more experience. I'm a good marketer because I test everything. And the cool thing is we'll run the split test for a week. At the end of the week, the thing that works better, we get to keep for the next year. The thing that didn't work, it only lasted a week. So I get to be wrong 50% of the time and still make a ton of money. So just, that's the thing about split test everything. Split test, change one word in the headline, and you never know if that can make a 1 or 2% difference. And then change the button color, change the cover facing this way or that way. Just change everything you can think of. Do something where you're doing kind of a silly face, or in one where you're doing like an aggressive face, and one where you're doing more of just a normal, standing still type face. Doesn't matter. So, all right. So we go to the page. I just want to
cut in here just for a second. And I know a lot of authors, they aren't web savvy, but a lot of website building tools allow you to do the A/B or split test. And you can also easily hire an assistant or somebody to do this for you.
I know all the website savvy stuff, and we didn't have to know any of that for this. It's all drag and drop these days.
Yes.
You guys have no idea what it was like 20 years ago to build a website. It was so hard. I had a book that was like 600 pages long that had all the stuff in it. Now, like, you don't know how to Google. Oh, how do you center the text on this thing? You just Google it and it tells you how to do it. Super easy. So we've got up at the top, you've got the book, and you've got some buttons that say, we talk about the pre-order bonuses, because there are $785 in exclusive pre-order bonuses. Then we've got, the endorsements. We got Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank, Dory Clark, Michael Hyatt, Susie Moore, John Lee Dumas, and so John Acuff, and so on. And then there's an area to get the book. You can buy the book at any major retailer. I mean, if they sell books, they sell the book, and we have links to there. But then you come back to that page to claim the pre-order bonuses, because it's like, well, how does the affiliate who sent traffic to this page make any money? So what happens is you fill out the bonus form there, and then when it takes you to the next page, which is an offer that enhances the book itself. So for instance, when you come to the page, the incentive for them to go to this page is the pre-order bonuses. The incentive for them to get it now, the scarcity, is the pre-order bonuses. We've got, a bonus on there that kind of takes part of the book a little bit deeper. Another part where I talk about how, hey, I would have loved to have included this in the book, but we had to cut the manuscript from 117 down to 80,000 words. So this is part that got cut. I'm going to give it to you as a bonus, but you have to buy here. Like if you just go to Amazon and look up the book on Amazon, you don't get these bonuses. So then when you claim these bonuses, there's a few things that end up happening for the customer is we'll offer you some additional things that you could purchase. That's number one. From our standpoint, now we're collecting the email addresses. So on launch day, when we launch the book, the next day we can send an email. And we even know what retailer they purchased through. We know the big ones. It's Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, Books A Million, or other. 99% of orders are going to be through those first four. 80% are going to be through Amazon. So we can specifically say, hey, thank you for buying the book through Amazon. Would you be willing to tell others about the book? Here's the direct link to do that. So we're now able to, boost reviews. We're able to boost engagement. We're able to even do things like, especially right now when we're doing this, it's the Christmas season. Hey, you purchased the book. Do you maybe know a couple other people who would like it? And we're running a campaign that if you pre-order 5 books, we'll send you a signed copy right away. Like we will put it in the mail today. You'll have it in 3 days. You can be reading a physical copy long before anybody else will. All of those things that we can do because we're actually capturing the email addresses. And then there's one last thing that I'll point out that we did that's been a big deal on the page was we were reading the book Influence by Robert Cialdini as a team. And I've read that book 5 or 6 times. I mean, it's a foundation of marketing, right? But one of the things that one of our team members said when he caught that I just didn't catch when I read it this time is he's like, one of the things that was just the usage of you need testimonials from average people, not just, oh yeah, Kevin Harrington, the guy who's worth $1 billion says this, Dan Miller says this, Rachel Miller, Jonathan Milligan, they all say nice things. These are guys running 7-figure businesses. They say nice things about the book. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have so many people that have been through the same process that the book teaches, and we have none of their testimonials on the page. Wow. Oops. Yeah. I've been around for 20 years and I still make a mistake every now and again. And we were like, get those added right away. And we were adding those. And so that's just a little tip for everybody. Like, make sure you put quote unquote average people's testimonials, not just the best-selling author of such and such endorsing your book on your page.
It's a great model. Thank you for that. And I cannot believe we're out of time. I'd love to talk to you some more after the book launch. So why don't we just end by where we can find you online, your podcast, your programs, your courses, your affiliate program, and the URLs.
Yeah. If you guys are listening, obviously you're into podcasts, you can check out the Affiliate Guy podcast. I would look up the ones that I've done specifically about book marketing. I've done a couple that'll help you with book promoting your book, but also some how to work in affiliate offers into your book. Because we all know you don't make very much from your book itself. So how do you increase that value per book an extra $2, $3, $4? Which if you're selling enough could be a pretty substantial amount of money. So I've got some episodes, totally free that'll walk you through that. And then the next best place is that URL I mentioned earlier, passionsintoprofitsbook.com/Carla. I got tons of special stuff there for your listeners, Carla. So you can buy it anywhere. If you just want to skip all that and don't want that, that's fine. But I think you'll be glad you went to that URL.
Yes, and the offer ends January 10th, I believe.
Yeah, there'll still be some special stuff for your listeners. There's a couple of the pre-order bonuses that are time bound. Like we're doing a Q&A with everybody. Obviously, I can't do one of those every single week in perpetuity.
Right.
So that'll be only for the people who pre-order by January 10th. They'll get a special event with me. But yeah, there'll still be a bunch of bonuses up that you can't get anywhere else for your listeners, Carla.
Thank you, Matt. And I know it's
Pleasure.
The holidays, it's your launch time, it's the end of the year. It's a lot. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be our guest.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks, Carla.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us today. Please check out our podcast page where we post a transcript and show notes with links to all things Matt McWilliams at nonfictionauthorsAssociation.com. You can just put Matt's name in the search box to find it or look at the podcast tab. And please subscribe. The podcast streams live weekly with monthly top replays from our archives of over 400 interviews. Find out how to listen or watch at nonfictionauthorsAssociation.com/podcast. And while you're there, sign up for our mailing list to get reminders and all kinds of good stuff nonfiction authors need to write, publish, promote, and profit from your books. Meantime, keep writing. Really, the world needs your experience and expertise. Thanks again. Hey, just a couple more things. You have some great sponsors for the NFAA and for the Nonfiction Writers Conference, including Lulu.com. Check them out.
Looking for a better way to grow your brand and business? Lulu can help. Use our free platform to publish in all of the best-selling formats, including hardcover and coil-bound, and connect to our global print network to sell your books directly through your own website. Lulu's e-commerce integrations with Shopify and WordPress allow you to sell your books your way. Create a free account today at lulu.com to get started.